And greetings, everybody. It's Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we continued reading Cycle of Hatred, and the showdown is sitting right before us. Jaina and her posse have arrived at Zmodlor's cave on Dreadness Peak. As we get closer and closer to finish that book and start World of Warcraft, we are continuing to plow forward with our side content, and that has no end in sight, which is the for now, it's World of Warcraft Dungeons and Dragons. And we're reading a book called Lands of Mystery, which is the third book in the revamped source books. And we're going through right now the Lands of Central Kalimdor, so stay a while and listen as we cover a section devoted just to Orgrimmar. It is a capital with 14,000 people, primarily Orc. That's as big as a region just in the capital. A lot of jungle trolls, Tauren, and a smidgen of Forsaken as well. Of course, ruled by Thrall. And it's the Horde capital. Orgrimmar has been the central hub of the Orc community since the end of the Third War. The city was founded by Thrall and named after his friend and mentor, the former warchief Orgrim Doomhammer. It is a fortified complex guarded by stout walls, massive gates, and tall towers. The mountainous ranges of northern Durotar form a natural barrier to the rear of the fortress, and parts of the complex are carved into the mountain itself. Orgrimmar is openly hospitable to all members of the Horde and is an important center of commerce. Visitors may fly into the city by way of Zeppelin or Wyvern, or simply walk through the fortress's main gates. While not a member of the Horde, I tried the third method of entry, and not surprisingly, the guards weren't too convinced that I was simply there to talk and observe. My letter from Tyrande did little to pacify them, but it was enough to get me to speak to a guard captain who had fought with the Night Elves and Jaina's forces at Mount Hyjal. It took quite a bit of convincing, but I was able to get permission to remain in the city for one day. Of course, if any of the citizens didn't approve of my presence, I was on my own, which is just the way I like it. People and culture. Although orcs comprise the majority of the city's inhabitants, there is a strong troll presence here as well, primarily in the Valley of Spirits. The simple rustic architecture of the orcs is used to maximum effect, creating a network of wooden towers and mud hut-style structures. The Horde races also use Orgrimmar as a center of trade, not only of physical goods, but ideas as well. For example, a number of different holidays are celebrated here, including a Tauren festival for the winter solstice, and a number of others. So that means that that's just yet another sign that we're beyond initial patch. Although Thrall's new Horde turns away from demonic influence and the brutish aggression that it was once known for, some remnants of the Horde's darker days linger. It is rumored that the Burning Blade steadily infiltrates Orgrimmar via underground tunnels beneath the city in the Cleft of Shadows, a dark cavern where warlocks and rogues dwell, which is the Ragefire Chasm and why you have an instance there. Even the Horde fights it. The most significant figure in Orgrimmar is undoubtedly the warchief himself, and I was permitted to see him with a fairly large armed escort. After seeing the warchief in person, I suspect he probably would be the one protecting his guards in most fights, but that didn't stop them from being careful. Surprisingly, he dismissed my escort when I entered the chamber and allowed me to sit and talk with him for quite some time. I must admit I was a bit biased during the encounter. As a veteran of the Second War, it has proven difficult to shake the memories of losing friends to the Horde. After only a few minutes with Thrall, I realized that he is nothing like those orcs. This warchief is as different from Blackhand or Doomhammer as we are from the Dark Irons. He explained to me that he considered Tyrande, Jaina, and many other members of the Alliance to be friends, and he would gladly do whatever it takes to end the hostilities between the two factions. We agreed that the Burning Legion and the Scourge are greater threats, and ones that we should cooperate against. But I had one question he could not answer in a satisfactory way. When I asked Thrall about allowing the Forsaken to join the Horde, he grunted. He didn't seem pleased about the idea either, and admitted he expected them to betray him, but he simply felt that he needed allies, even if those allies were not completely trustworthy. I avoided using the word desperate, but that's exactly what he is. Thrall knows that his forces are too diminished to stand up to the combined might of the Alliance without outside help, and the Forsaken provide that help. I discussed a number of other issues with Thrall, and overall he proved a surprisingly friendly and respectful host. He also asked me to carry a message to you, Magni, which I have attached, and this is the Warchief's missive. King Magni Bronzebeard of Ironforge, our people fight and die each day in a false war. The spirits of nature tremble at the might of the burning legion and the undead scourge, and yet the mortals of the world are content to shed each other's blood. We must end this. Your noble brother has shown me that the chance for peace between our people still exists, and I will fight to my dying breath to see that day come. Lady Jane of Proudmoore has sacrificed much to assist me in this cause, and that debt will never be fully repaid. But I must know that we do not stand alone. I request that we arrange a meeting between the leaders of our mighty peoples to discuss the terms for a truce, and, the spirits willing, an alliance against the darker forces of this world as well. The home world of my people was shattered by the bloodshed between the Alliance and the Horde. I would not see that happen to Azeroth as well. May the spirits watch over you. Respectfully, Warchief Thrall. Geography. Orgrimmar is located in the far north of Durotar, up the foothills of the mountain range that separates Durotar from Ajara. Several valleys have been dug out from the mountain and provide a way of naturally dissecting the city into various zones, including the Valley of Spirits, Valley of Strength, Valley of Wisdom, and the Valley of Honor. And we can see that in the map here, and we also looked at that in the game manual a couple episodes back. We also see this is more accurate because on that, I think they had the Warchief base somewhere like right here, and obviously it's right here. Several specialty shops are found in the Drag, a dark pathway that leads from the Valley of Strength to the Valley of Honor. Those searching for potions or training in the darker arts of the Rogue or Warlock find a tunnel leading down to the Cleft of Shadow from the Drag. Sites and settlements. The majority of Orgrimmar is divided into valleys that function like the neighborhoods in an alliance city, or the quarters. Each of these valleys houses different types of people, shops, and the like. There is Grommash Hold. Thrall holds court inside the hold, while outside, a traveler may find a monument to the orcs' triumph over demonic influence. Manaroth, the demon lord who cursed the bloodline of the orcs, fell in battle to Thrall and Grom Hellscream. Manaroth's skull and armor are displayed on the trunk of an ancient tree bearing a plaque that tells of the orcs' victorious transformation and reminds readers of the mistakes of the past. The keep is simple, and while well designed, it lacks the riches and statues one might see in a human palace. I like it. Reminds me a bit of home. There's Ragefire Chasm, as we mentioned. Ragefire Chasm is a network of tunnels beneath the city, rumored to be the point of entry used recently by agents of the Burning Blade. The Ring of Valor. The Ring of Valor is a massive gladiatorial arena. Here warriors fight to honor the Horde, not for the amusement of bloodthirsty crowds. Young orcs practice here with blunted weapons, but occasionally fight to severe injury or death. I also think that's where PvP gear is sold, and there's PvP like Q kind of zone there. Valley of Spirits. I find the name of this valley ironic. It is here that those spellcasters who do not follow the way of the spirits learn their trade. Trolls and Forsaken practice arcane magic here, a rarity in the Orc lands, and some follow the path of priesthood as well. This valley is found on the southwest side of Orgrimmar. Valley of Strength. This valley is notable above the other sectors of the city for the simple reason that this is where the majority of commerce takes place. The bank and auction house are located here, as is the flight tower where... Sorry, I'm having like a... I was starting to get distracted thinking about creating characters for when we play. Where zeppelins and wyverns arrive from afar. This is also the first sector a visitor is exposed to upon passing the city's main gates. In addition to the bank, one can also find an armor shop in the city's main inn, run by an innkeeper named Grishka. It seemed like a suitable place to stay, but I didn't have the luxury of enough time in Orgrimmar to rent a room. That's usually the Hearthstone I pick, is that one. Valley of Wisdom. This is the location of the city's general store, as well as Grommash Hold. The Valley of Wisdom is found on the northwest side of Orgrimmar. Many experienced shamans are also found here, training the younger orcs, trolls, and tauren, or assisting the warchief. History. In the years following the Second War, a young orc named Thrall studied the early shamanistic influences of his culture. The majority of the orcs who remained on Azeroth had been captured and placed in internment camps by the Alliance, and they suffered from an unusual state of lethargy, which Thrall later learned was due to withdrawal from the addictive demonic magic of the Burning Legion. Thrall found the one remaining free clan of orcs and became friends with their chieftain, the legendary Grom Hellscream. After this encounter, he managed to find the former warchief of the Horde, Orgrim Doomhammer, and convince him to begin the fight anew and free their people. which is why Grommash Hold is named after him. With Orgrimm at his side, Thrall began a reformation of the orcs, liberating them from their camps and teaching them the ways of shamanism. After several successful raids, Doomhammer fell and Thrall took his place as the new war chief of the Horde. In the events leading up to the Third War, Thrall and his orcs landed on Kalimdor, guided by a mysterious prophet. The united forces of the Horde, humans, and Night Elves succeeded in defeating Archimonde and the Burning Legion and reclaiming the land of Kalimdor. It was shortly thereafter that Thrall claimed Durotar as the Horde's new homeland and built the city of Orgrimmar, named after Thrall's friend and mentor, the former warchief of the Horde, Orgrim Doomhammer. During Orgrimmar's early construction, Admiral Dalen Proudmoore arrived in the nearby human city of Theramore and took control of most of his daughter's forces there. Jaina did her best to warn the Horde of this new threat, and after a series of battles, a half-ogre named Rexar led the Horde to victory against Admiral Proudmoore's forces. The Admiral fell in battle, and this event strains the already tenuous relationship between the Alliance and the Horde in Kalimdor. And here are some adventures. Orgrimmar is where most orcs make their homes, but it is hardly a place of tranquility. Burning Blade agents tunnel their way in from below, and the threat of an attack from the Alliance grows with each passing day. And an adventure campaign or whatever called The First Few Steps. Maybe not a campaign, but definitely a lengthy adventure hooks are what these are. The PCs are asked to participate in a large escort for the warchief from Orgrimmar to Ratchet in the Barrens, where Thrall meets with Jaina Proudmoore and Tyrande Whisperwind to continue to work toward peace between the Alliance and the Horde. More than half of Thrall's guards are actually agents of the Burning Blade, and a battle breaks out as the group leaves Durotar, severely thinning the number of guards available to escort the warchief. As the convoy approaches Ratchet, it is attacked again, this time by soldiers loyal to Dalen Proudmoore. Finally, the PCs must prevent assassins from disrupting the Peace Council. That would be a fun little campaign, or whatever, quest, adventure. Yeah. All right, cool. So we are getting closer and closer. There's probably only 1 or 2 zones left in Central Kalimdor, and we are getting closer and closer to playing the game. Hey, thank you everyone so much. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time and attention. And hopefully that you enjoy these weird little side snippets of Dungeons and Dragons. This episode is in the pipe 5x5, and I will see you all next time on Lore of Warcraft.